to another edition of Sewing Guru, and today I'm going to show you how to position the sleeve into the shirt itself. Alright, now first of all you need to get and work out where the left sleeve is going into the left side and the right sleeve is going to the right side. Okay, now basically you can tell that by the way the cuff lies. Alright, now when you're wearing the sleeve, the cuff, if I was to put my hand in here, the cuff lies this way. Okay, the cuff lies downwards, so this opening lies towards the back. Okay, so when you've established that, you'll be able to work out which is the left hand side and which is the right hand side. Okay, now from the part that you did earlier, attaching the fronts to the yoke, alright, and the backs, you need to find your armhole opening, or arm side as they call it. Okay, they call this here the arm side. So this is the yoke, the shoulder point, and it goes right round to the back, and we have here the arm side which also goes to the front. Now the sleeve part fits into there. Now when you're attaching the sleeve head into the arm side, it's actually quite a simple operation. Alright, basically all you do is you put right sides together, you find the start point. It doesn't matter which end you start at. You can start at the point here at the front, okay, or you can go all the way around and start at this point, which is at the back. Alright, it doesn't matter where you start, and simply just put your sleeve head onto the arm side here, alright, and just attach it so that it's completely in alignment here, and put a pin in there, and just keep working your way around all the way, and just keep putting pins in here. Okay, and just keep working your way around along the sleeve head, along the shoulder point, all the way along until your sleeve, because of course from the pattern it will fit exactly right, till your sleeve fits and slots into that arm side. Okay, right along. So just keep pinning that and just make sure that it just fits in. Now if you do have sort of it hangs over here, it really doesn't matter. Okay, it really doesn't matter if you've got a slight overhang. Just make sure that your sleeve just is completely aligned in, and there's no sort of distortion actually on the sleeve head itself when you're attaching it in. Okay, so just keep pinning this in and just easing it in until it lies really flat and there's no sort of puckering, or the sleeve head seems to be, say, too big for the arm side. Okay, if that happens, just keep realigning it. Now with me, as you can see, that's there just a little bit too big, so we'll just pull this a bit further along to this side so that it just eases it in quite neatly until we reach the other side. Now again, like I say, it doesn't really matter if you've got a little bit of overhang. It really doesn't matter. Okay, as long as this whole sleeve is eased in and it's lying with no puckers at all. Alright, now there is two ways you can do this. I'm going to show you the easier way, where I simply just attach it around and then overlock the edge. Now you can actually do this and attach it without overlocking, and then you would need a flat felled seam. And basically a flat felled seam, what it does is it sort of interlocks itself like so. Okay, so if I show you quickly here what a flat felled seam does. You start off where your part of your seam is back, okay, and it folds back on itself like so. Yeah, so it just folds back. Now if I just pin that as if it's been sewn and folded back on itself like so. Let's put another pin there. So you would stitch this folded part down onto this part, and then when you've done that, basically this part then comes back over, yeah, and then you would stitch on this part, and as you can see the seam is inside, you know, and it disappears, and then you get this sort of interlocked look. That's a flat felled seam, okay. Now if you want to do that, that's fine. A flat felled seam is actually the sign of a more higher quality shirt, but I'm just going to show you the easy way. And you just attach this in and then you overlock it, okay. So when you're happy and you've attached the whole sleeve head in, okay, you need to stitch from here right round all the way along the sleeve head until you reach the other side to this point here. Right, so when you've stitched around like I've done here, yeah, and you can see that there is no puckers at all, it's just a really nice seam right round this sleeve head here until you get to the other side. The next part, when you're happy with that, is you need to just overlock this edge catching both the seams in. Okay, so we need to be overlocking from here right along to this point here. Okay, now if you're doing a flat felled seam, then you don't need to overlock, okay. So basically just overlock that part if you're doing the same as me. Otherwise you're going to get this rough edge, you see, and this raw edge, which you don't want. Okay, so just overlock that around. Right, so I've overlocked right round this edge here, right round to the other side. Okay, now this is the point where you can top stitch or you can leave it. It is completely up to you. If you put a top stitching around the sleeve, okay, it just gives this bit more of a sporty look, okay. Now I always like to top stitch around my sleeves. Just position that, okay. So if you're going to be top stitching, you have to make sure that the seam is facing back on itself, okay. So for instance, we have here the sleeve, okay, and this is the yoke and the shoulder point. So the seam is, it's coming back on itself. If I turn that over, you can see it's facing this way, okay. So it's as if there's like the seam is, it's actually on top of the sleeve itself, and it just gives that effect if you put a top stitching round here, okay. So if you're going to be doing a top stitching like me, you need to stitch from here right along the whole sleeve head until you reach this point here. Right, so I've top stitched right along the whole arm side, and I'm just going to give this a bit of a press. Let's press this down right along the arm side. Like so. Make this neat. Right, okay, now you should have done that with both sleeves. Alright, now the next part, what we need to do is we're going to be attaching the sleeve itself right along from where the cuff would be. Okay, so this here is the cuff. Alright, this is where the cuff's going to be. This is your sleeve, alright. So you need to have it, you need to fold it where the right side's together, and you can see the wrong side, of course. Yeah, and just attach this with some pins. Let's get some pins. So we're going from the edge here of your sleeve, where your cuff's going to be going on, right along. Now this part here, where you attach the sleeve itself into the arm side, these seams here need to be completely aligned for the underarm. Okay, so we'll just attach that and just keep opening your seam, and if it's completely aligned here, then you know that you've got it right. Okay, now when I've aligned mine, I always like to put a pin in the crossways like so, because when I take this pin out, this stays, and the sewing machine will just go straight over the top of this pin and hold it in position. Alright, so we'll just put another pin here as well. So we've got the sleeve, and this is all the way down the side seam of the shirt to the bottom hem, which is here. Okay, so you're doing basically the sleeve and the side seam all in one operation. So when you've done this, of course, you then will be able to see that the shirt is completely taking place, and all you have to do then is attach the cuffs and the collar and finish off the hem itself, and your shirt it's just about there. You got your button and buttonholes as well, but we're nearly there. So this point, you need to be stitching from the hem right along, so we're going 1 centimetre in, right along, all the way past the underarm, all the way along the sleeve to the end of the sleeve at this point here. Okay, so if you did a flat felled seam before around the armhole and the arm side, you then need to copy that and do a flat felled seam along here as well, so that it's all the same. Now I'm going to be doing just a standard seam with an overlocking, because that's what I did around the arm side. Okay, so I'm just going to go and stitch that and overlock that now. Okay, so I've stitched right along, and I've also overlocked the side as well. Okay, so what you need to do is get your sleeve board, and we're just going to press this seam open, okay, along the sleeve. We're just going to, well, press it flat anyway. We're going to press this flat, and then it's ready to construct the cuff. Just press this down, seam, right along, like so, and just open out the shirt. And press this seam here as well. Just, yeah, it's a bit tricky getting it all flat, but you'll get there in the end. Okay, and just press along the side seam as well. Just press along here, so it's all nice and flat. Like so. Alright, and do that on the other side as well. I'm just going to press this down on the other sleeve. Just put it on the sleeve board and just give that a press down as well. Right along like so. Okay, now when you've done that, you need to turn this out the right way. So just need to turn these sleeves out the right way. Let's just do that. And what we're going to do now is we're just going to attach this cuff on here, because it's really easy to do. Okay, so I've got my cuff here ready. Now of course you need to get the cuff corresponding to the right sleeve. Okay, so this here is my sleeve, and of course I've got the buttons on one side and then the buttonholes on this side here. Okay, so the buttons correspond, okay, to the side that the buttons are on. So it's the other sleeve. Let's get the other sleeve here. Okay. Now I've still got to put my button on this side, but this is the side where the buttons go on. And all you're doing is this cuff, the cuff that I showed you to do earlier, okay, this white cuff here, it's exactly the same as this one here. And all we're doing is we're just slotting this in to there. I'm just going to manoeuvre this round so it's easier for me to just attach this on with pins, because all this is, we're just attaching this with pins, and then you simply top stitch it on. So it's really easy to do. So what you do, just make sure that these are all aligned here, and that you're just going to put your pins in like so, okay, and just keep going along until you have neatly positioned this cuff in. Now if I open up this cuff here, you just got to make sure that this raw edge lies on the raw edge of your cuff as well, okay, so make sure that the whole thing is just inside, and just keep putting some pins on there just to secure this. And you can also you can start on the other side as well. Make sure that this cuff is just positioned in neatly. Okay, so it's just a little tricky, but make sure that you just position this so it's all neat and it's all in line, and make sure that it's really up against this edge here. It's neatly up against the edge. Put a pin in there as well, like so, and just keep going along, keep going until you have your whole cuff in. Now if your cuff is a bit wide, I think mine's gonna be just a little bit wide, yeah it is, all you need to do is just bring in, just adjust this part here, this seam here. So if I was to just put a pin there just to reduce this sleeve a bit, okay, it's now going to fit in there quite neatly, okay, or you can adjust your pleats. Okay, so if I just adjust that seam there, the side seam, as you can see, then it fits in really neatly. Okay, so just put a few pins, another couple of pins in there, and another one here. And that's doing is it's catching in. Let's turn that back as well. Make sure that all this is just caught in here as well. Okay, just make sure that this is all caught in, and that's neatly snug in there. Like I say, it is a little tricky, it really is, you know, but once you've got this pinned and you're happy with the way it's lying, all it is just one stitch line across and you've attached the cuff in. Okay, so I'm quite happy with that, to be honest with you. Okay, just close your cuff up as well, just to see how that's going to look. Okay, that looks fine to me. Okay, just open that out. So when you've got all that positioned in, yeah, now I did do a small adjustment here. Okay, so I now have to stitch this part here on the sleeve just to make this seam a bit smaller. But when I've done that, all you need to do is just do a simple single row of stitching right on the edge of the cuff from here right round until you reach this part here, and it secures this whole cuff on. Right, so I've stitched along this whole cuff right along, and as you can see it's been caught inside as well, and it's just this one single row of stitching catching the whole thing in. Now when you're happy with that, just put it on your sleeve board and give this a bit of a press. press this down. And it's as simple as that. The cuff really is an easy thing to put on. It's just your preparation to start with that's just a bit tricky, but it's literally just one row of stitching that holds your cuff on. It's great. Okay, so if I just close that now, like so, you can see that that's really neat. I've just got to put a button on there so it goes through the buttonhole there, but there you go, really neat. That is how you attach the cuff onto the sleeve, and also how you put the sleeves into the arm side and completely sew them up down the side seams and overlock the whole thing.